We're going to turn our attention now to the Committee on Directors. It's tab 4 in your notebook. Here you have two committee charges, the Executive Committee and the Committee on Directors. The reason for that is in immature boards, the Executive Committee may initially function taking on the responsibility of the Committee on Directors. But as you saw in my little wheel there that said Celebrate in the center, I would urge you to form a Committee on Directors as soon as possible. This is the second committee of the board that must be made up of all board members, the first being the Executive Committee, the second the Committee on Directors. This committee, a relatively small committee, has responsibilities in terms of identifying, cultivating, recruiting prospective board members. Yes, Father.
Do you mean it's made up of all board members, or it's made up of only board members?
It is made up of only board members, regardless of the number. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, only board members sit on the Committee on Directors. So, identifying, cultivating, recruiting prospective board members. It is this committee that also conducts the annual board self-evaluation. It is this committee responsible for cultivating individuals for committees and for maintaining board records with regard to the board makeup, attendance, committee assignments, tenure, when's the term going to be up, all of those kinds of things. If you look behind tab 4, and in particular behind the committee charges, the first letter you see is September 2000. You've seen this before, Organizing the Catholic School Board for Action and Results. This time it's in here because of the board membership makeup. We want you to use that matrix or one similar to it to track members of the board as they're being recruited, cultivated onto the board itself, so that you have good diversity, that those complementary skills that we're looking for are constantly present within the board. The next letter, which is dated March 2008 and entitled Governance Issues, the Annual Evaluation, if you look at pages 2 and 3, there is a standard generic board evaluation format there. The diocese has adapted this, and you have it in SurveyMonkey format available for use with your boards here. The key here is that the Committee on Directors is going to use this to survey all board members every year to find out how well we're doing in certain areas, not just so that we know that, but to help plan for board training and in service for the following year.
I need to clarify the resource that the diocese has. We have adapted this survey and put it onto SurveyMonkey. However, the SurveyMonkey account is not an account available to everyone. So it would be an electronic tool we could give you, and you could use an electronic survey tool of your own, whether that's Google or some other tool that you choose to use.
Can they, if they buy their own SurveyMonkey account, could it just be transferred?
I would think so. I don't know. Cindy, would you know that?
Yeah, you can export.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can export.
That's what we do for our clients. We just send them.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. I'm glad you stayed for this. Very good. This, as I said, is one of the smaller committees. It does not meet with anywhere near the frequency of the Executive Committee or the Policy and Planning Committee. So if you're looking for a committee to be on that doesn't have to meet for several hours every month, this might be one to... Oh, that's not the right attitude? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. This committee, however, is the one that's going to determine the future of the board by identifying new individuals, many of whom will come from some of the committees themselves. Last questions on the Committee on Directors.
And while we're waiting for questions, I want to reiterate something that Richard said earlier today. The Committee on Directors does not just get active at the end of the school year. Committee on Directors is an all-year-round process of identifying potential members for your board, and recruiting them, getting them ready, so that at any time you have potential board members ready to go.
It's a good point. I did talk about that in more detail this afternoon. I should have done it this evening as well. One of our client schools in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, St. Helens, the committee on directors there had identified that they didn't have enough people on the board with financial expertise. And in sharing that information with the board and the principal said, you know, there probably are people in the area, and I just don't know them. She later determined that she had never been to the bank, that she, the principal of the school, had never been to the bank that they used. It was always the front office receptionist that took deposits down and so on. So her real name is Mary Ann Johnson, decided she would go and meet the new bank manager. Turned out that he was also new. He had just been promoted to this position 3 months or so earlier, and so they got to know each other a little bit. He said, I know very few people in the community, but I'm looking forward to getting to know more. She said, we need people with financial expertise. Would you consider joining our board? He thought it was a great idea. He not only joined the board, he's still on it, but he's brought 2 of his friends onto the board now too. So it enhanced the financial expertise substantially. It is not just parents or alums or alumni parents that will come onto your board. Okay, we're now going to move to tab number 5,